So, to tell the story, I need to go back to 2016 when I was 14 years old and I made a decision to be an influencer. At this point, I really believed that there was a better life on social media than the life I was living. And so, over the years, I started becoming really passionate about taking videos, taking pictures. It made me become very discontented with the family that I came from, with the life that I was living. I felt like there was a lifestyle better than the one I was living, and I was willing to press towards it. And I didn't tell anybody because at this point, I didn't want anyone that was going to tell me anything like, you're too young, you can't do it. I was seeing girls my age online at this point doing the things that I wanted to do, looking the parts, wearing expensive clothes, expensive jewelry, having brand deals. At first, it started as a hobby. I would capture events, moments with my friends. If my friends and I went out, or after a particular session in school, I would capture memories from what happened in that session and send it to our group chat then, and everybody would feel so emotional and they love this thing, right? And then all of a sudden, I think it was around 2016, there just came this wave of influencers. It just felt like there was a wave of influencers in 2016. There were lots of people in friend groups, and I kept looking at my life in school like, what am I doing? I was in grade 10 at this point, and it just felt like there was nothing going on in my life. My life wasn't looking like these girls online. My body wasn't looking like these girls online that had the slim waist, had the lifestyle, had the money to go out, while I was just, living with my parents at this time. So at this point, I really wanted to get an iPhone. I felt like that was the one thing stopping me from becoming who I wanted to become. There was this obsession that I had with needing an iPhone, and I can never forget, like, I would envy people that had an iPhone at that point, because I just felt like once I get this iPhone, my life is going to change. My influencer game is going to change. I felt like everybody that was an influencer at that time had clearer pictures, clearer videos because they had an iPhone. And I felt like that gave them an edge and that it puts me at a loss because I didn't have one at this time. And I remember that each time I would ask my parents, ask my mom to buy me this phone thing, she would say, no, we need money to do other things. And which I should have understood. I mean, I'm the first out of 4 children, right? And they needed money to do so many other things. But at this point, it just felt like, why is my family not doing this thing for me? I mean, other girls my age online that are doing this influencing thing, they have these materials, and all I'm asking for, I think at that point, I needed like an iPhone 6 or something like that, if I remember correctly, because that was 2016. I wanted an iPhone 6. And then I remember this one time, my dad made a deal with me. He told me that if I did well in my junior WAEC examinations, that he was going to buy me an iPhone 6. And sure, you believe it, I made sure that I aced those exams. I gave it my all. I was reading. I was like, I cannot fail. And then I did well in the exams, and time for the iPhone. And my dad says, oh, we need money to do something else. So sorry. And note this, right? My dad is not the type of person to break his promises. So if my dad says he will do something, he actually always ensures that he does it. But this particular time, it just kept feeling like every time, every year. And then it got to a point where he told me, oh, when you get to SS3, if you do well in your exams in SS3, I'm going to buy this phone for you. And then I graduated from high school, did well in my WAEC, got into university, and I still did not have this iPhone. I had an Android and the camera was so bad. I felt like if I wanted to be in the same league as these girls or even get close to them and these people that I see online, the iPhone was like the first care package. I felt like the iPhone was the first care package that I needed to have if I didn't have anything at all. It really got to a point where at home, when I would see the way these girls were dressing, I would pick up some of my clothes and I would try to style it like theirs, and I would really be dressing in really provocative manners. If I'm being honest, I'm like, okay, if I can't afford the phone, I might as well try to start styling myself like these girls. And then I had friends that had the iPhone, right? And I remember that at this point, it got to a point where I would literally time and beg some of my friends that, please, I'm coming to your house, I want to take pictures, just because I wanted to start entering this group of influencers. I was like, I must be an influencer. And the more I tried, the more it didn't work. There were times when, my friends would tell me, oh, they're not available, or they need their phone to do something. I would be so angry because I just felt like, it almost felt like you're not supporting my dream. Like, it almost felt like you're not supporting my dream. And then I'll go back home and I'll be angry with my parents all over again, because it just felt like I wouldn't even be in this position asking other people for their phones if you just bought me the iPhone 6 that you promised me. And then at some point I'll be angry at God, because like, it's just like, how much is this phone? And then iPhone 6 played there, then iPhone 7 came out, and iPhone 8 and iPhone, X and whatnot. And it just never happened, because I was really, really obsessed with the idea of blowing up. And it got to a point where I met this guy and he told me, oh, I know how to get you into, one of these groups of these girls that were really social and really active at this time. And guess what? All of a sudden, the guy and I just stopped talking. I don't know how that happened. Now I know that was God's way of removing me. It just felt like, God, are you for me or against me? Because, okay, now I met someone that is willing to, take me into the circle, introduce me to them because he knew some of them. I would notice that me and this person would have little arguments over nothing. At this point, I wasn't a believer, so I wasn't even sensitive enough to know that was God's way of hiding me and removing me from what was not meant to be mine. After some time, I kind of gave up on the iPhone and actually just learned to accept that, maybe I'm not going to have this phone anytime soon. And I just gave up on the promises. I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. So I decided to start working on the other things that I felt were in my control. And then I started a weight loss journey in 2020. And this was the funniest time of my life. I'm probably going to do a full video about this weight loss journey. I started this journey in 2020 during the COVID time, because I just felt like that was the best time. Everybody was at home. There was nothing much going on. I just felt like this is the best time to do this thing that I've been putting off. One thing that I remember was, at this point, I had a picture of a particular influencer in mind that I wanted her kind of body shape. And so I started losing weight, and I did not literally stop till I reached that particular goal. And I finally lost the weight. It gave me the acceptance that I felt like I wanted. I remember going back to school and I was finally talk of the town. I had the attention of people online and offline. It even got to a point where I started coaching people to lose weight, and I was like, oh my God, I'm some influencer. I was like, I'm going to be a fitness influencer. The OGs that followed me then know that, yeah. And people were actually losing weight. I gave them meal plans. In fact, I was like, God, I finally found my career path. Like, I'm going to be the next Chloe Ting or the next Lily Sabri. I was really hungry for fame, for validation. So the moment I felt like, man, I don't have the iPhone yet, but my body shape has started bringing attention to me, I put a lot of energy into that. People would comment, hottest, baddest, prettiest, mostest, this, that. And then finally, I gave my life to Christ in June 2021, and that was where some things began to change. And then suddenly my desire for fame, my desire for acceptance just dropped. And then finally I bought the iPhone that I have wanted for the past probably 5 or 6 years. I finally bought the iPhone. But the only difference was, at this point, when I bought the iPhone, there was a change in posture of heart. Now that I look back, I'm like, God, you let me want something so much for 6 years. And then suddenly the desire for that fame was not there anymore. I think that was the funniest part for me. I would baby the phone. I would not put it in fact, I would be using it from the carton, from the phone box. It was like I had bought gold. Like, I know that for many of you are like, it's not just iPhone. I had just started to know God, and I was just growing in Him. But the passion that I wanted to blow on Instagram, the kind of content I would have been creating, wasn't longer what I was creating with this iPhone. And that was when I realized, and I began to learn, the more I spent with God, that the reason why He delayed it wasn't necessarily because He didn't want my dad to keep his promise, and wasn't necessarily because God couldn't perform a miracle where the phone would come. It was because God knew that the kind of passion and desire that I had for this thing, if He had let me have the tools, in quotes, to move this mission, I would have been creating the kind of content that would have drawn a generation to a completely different route, and I would have been passionate about it. In my wildest dreams, I would never have imagined that I'm in front of a camera talking about Jesus. If anybody had told me prior to 2021 that I would give my life to Christ and one day make videos, have a podcast talking about Jesus, I would say, like, you're joking, because that was not the plan. The plan was to have an iPhone, look hot on Instagram, wear mad clothes, have a mad body, and blow. and then go out to events and parties. But God has completely changed my life, and I now see why delay, really, like they say, is not denial. What looked like time wasting, what looked like delay, was God holding me back. Because imagine the kind of content I would have been creating. You guys would have probably been seeing contents about me in a club or in places that I'm not supposed to be in, and I would have been bringing you guys on that journey. Let me know if you can relate to this story. God has completely transformed my life, and I really believe that that's just how powerful the Spirit of God is. And if you give Him an opportunity, He will change your life. He will change every single thing about you, even your desires to be seen. Since I started YouTube, I'm not going to say it's perfect, it's a number game. You want the views, you want the likes, but I think I'm just really learning to, yield it to God and let Him do what He wants to do with it. I want it to be said about me that I am a girl who loves God, who, loves His work, and as He wills and as He pleases, tell stories about Him and what He's done in my life as a living testimony. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it resonates with you, and if you have any stories, please leave it in the comments. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.